Two versions of the same man exist in Star Wars history. One tells the story of Darth Vader that most fans know today, while the other reveals a darker and more powerful version that shaped decades of storytelling. The differences between these two versions of Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader run deeper than most people realize. In the current canon timeline, Anakin grows into a complex warrior during the Clone Wars. He mentors a Padawan named Ahsoka Tano, who brings out his compassionate side. Their bond shows his capacity for teaching and care, making his fall to the dark side even more tragic when it happens. But in the Legends timeline, Ahsoka never existed. Anakin becomes a Jedi Knight early in the war without ever training an apprentice. His journey to heroism happens faster and with less emotional development. He remains a brash and skilled general whose inner struggles get less attention than his battlefield victories. The power levels between these two versions tell completely different stories. Canon Vader is terrifyingly strong but carries limitations from his injuries and suit. His pain fuels his strength, yet he can be defeated when enemies exploit his remaining humanity or find weaknesses in his armor and breathing system. Legends Vader operates on another level entirely. He becomes an almost unstoppable force of destruction who slaughters Jedi survivors with ease and strikes terror across the galaxy. The phrase that defines him in this timeline says everything. Anakin Skywalker is dead and Darth Vader lives. He transforms into an avenging dark side weapon with few physical limitations holding him back. Their internal conflicts paint opposing pictures of the same character. Canon Vader constantly wrestles with memories of his past life. He experiences visions of Padme, flashes of his former conscience, and moments of doubt that surface during encounters with Luke or Ahsoka. The man beneath the mask never fully disappears. Legends Vader crushes those feelings almost completely. Once he becomes a Sith Lord, he actively tries to kill every trace of Anakin Skywalker inside himself. He rarely thinks about Padme except in rage or bitter sorrow. For nearly 2 decades, he embraces his Sith identity without internal conflict. Any hesitation remains buried until Luke forces him to confront who he used to be. The aftermath of their redemption creates the biggest difference between these versions. In canon, Anakin finds peace in death after saving Luke. His Force ghost appears briefly, then his story ends quietly. His legacy lives on through Luke's memories and the twisted worship of Kylo Ren. Legends Anakin continues helping people even after death. His Force spirit appears to Leia shortly after the Battle of Endor, seeking forgiveness for his crimes against her and her people. He works alongside Yoda and Obi-Wan to help Luke defeat powerful Sith spirits who threaten the new Jedi Order. Luke builds his academy partly in response to lessons learned from his father's fall. He allows Jedi to marry and avoids the old order's strict rules, hoping to prevent another Vader from emerging. Legends Anakin not only destroys the Sith as the Chosen One, but continues guiding the next generation as a spirit. These differences matter because they created 2 distinct versions of one of fiction's most famous characters. The canon version focuses on internal struggle and human weakness. The Legends version emphasizes raw power and complete transformation from light to darkness. Both tell compelling stories about the same basic events, but they approach those events with different goals and different outcomes. Canon seeks to show the humanity that survives even in the darkest souls. Legends demonstrates what happens when that humanity gets buried so deep it almost disappears entirely. The version you know depends on when you discovered Star Wars and which stories shaped your understanding. Younger fans grew up with the nuanced character development of the Clone Wars series. Older fans remember decades of books and comics that painted Vader as a nearly invincible Dark Lord. What follows is the complete story of Darth Vader according to the Legends timeline. This is the version that dominated Star Wars storytelling for over 30 years before Canon reset the galaxy. It's the tale of a chosen one whose fall creates a monster more powerful and terrifying than his modern counterpart. From his miraculous birth to his ultimate redemption, this is Anakin Skywalker's journey through the Legends continuity. The story begins not with hope, but with the Force itself creating a weapon to restore balance to a galaxy sliding toward darkness. The galaxy's greatest weapon was born from an act of rebellion by the Force itself. This is the story of how two Sith Lords accidentally created their own destroyer. Around 42 BBY, two Dark Masters believe they can control life and death. Darth Plagueis and his apprentice Palpatine conduct experiments that push the boundaries of what the Force will tolerate. They try to manipulate midi-chlorians to create life, thinking they can bend the universe to their will through dark side power. But the Force has other plans. Their meddling triggers a response that neither Sith Lord expects or understands. The Force strikes back by conceiving a child without a father in the womb of Shmi Skywalker. This isn't natural reproduction or some cosmic accident. This is the Force creating its own weapon to restore balance to a galaxy sliding toward darkness. Anakin Skywalker enters the world as the chosen one, born to bring balance to the Force. But he doesn't arrive in a palace or temple where prophesied saviors usually appear. He comes into existence as property belonging to someone else on a desert world where hope dies under twin suns. Shmi Skywalker gives birth to her son while enslaved to Gardulla the Hutt. She tells anyone who asks that there was no father, reinforcing the mystical nature of Anakin's conception. The mother knows her child is special, but has no idea he represents the Force's answer to Sith ambitions. Life as a slave teaches Anakin harsh lessons before he can even walk properly. He and his mother belong to their Hutt master like pieces of valuable equipment. Gardulla treats them better than broken droids, but worse than living beings deserving basic respect or freedom. When Anakin turns 3 years old, his circumstances change but don't improve. Gardulla loses both Skywalkers in a bet to Watto, a Toydarian junk dealer who runs a shop in Mos Espa. The boy who will reshape galactic history gets traded like a gambling debt between criminals. Watto allows them a small hut in the slave quarters, which becomes the only home Anakin knows during his childhood. The space is cramped and humble, but Shmi makes it feel warm despite their circumstances. She protects her son from the worst aspects of slavery while teaching him to survive in a world that sees him as property. Growing up in chains exposes young Anakin to brutality that would break most children. He watches another slave die when an explosive transmitter detonates during an escape attempt. The sight of sudden death keeps him obedient to his master while planting seeds of hatred for the system that allows such cruelty. Despite these harsh realities, Anakin possesses abilities that mark him as different from everyone around him. He can see things before they happen, giving him reflexes that seem impossible for someone his age. This Force sensitivity manifests as intuitive understanding rather than formal training. By age 8, his mechanical genius becomes obvious to anyone paying attention. Anakin spends every free moment salvaging junk from Watto's shop to build inventions that amaze adults with decades of experience. His hands seem to understand technology in ways that formal education never taught him. His greatest early creation becomes a source of pride for both mother and son. Anakin builds C-3PO from spare parts scattered around the junk shop, assembling a protocol droid to help Shmi with household tasks. He calls the Golden Droid the third member of their little family, giving them something to care for together. C-3PO represents everything good about Anakin's character during this period. The boy creates something helpful and kind from discarded pieces, showing his desire to make life better for people he loves. The droid follows Shmi around their small home, chattering about etiquette while making their difficult existence slightly more bearable. Hidden in Watto's scrapyard, Anakin secretly works on his most ambitious project. He assembles his own pod racer from parts that other people consider worthless, covering the vehicle with a tarp to prevent his master from confiscating something that could win races and earn credits. The pod racer represents freedom in mechanical form, even though actual freedom remains far beyond his reach. Anakin pours his dreams of escape into every component he installs, creating something beautiful from the scraps of a harsh world. Local customers start requesting Anakin specifically when their equipment needs repair. Word spreads through Mos Espa that Watto's young slave can fix devices that other mechanics consider beyond saving. The boy's reputation grows while his legal status remains unchanged. Watto profits from these abilities without understanding their true source. The Toydarian brings broken technology to his slave and watches in amazement as impossible repairs get completed in hours rather than days. He sees valuable skills rather than force sensitivity. Despite his circumstances, Anakin maintains friendships that keep his spirit alive. He plays with other slave children like Kitster, Banai, and Ami, sharing adventures that help them forget their chains for precious moments. These relationships prove that connection survives even in the darkest places. Childhood adventures test Anakin's courage and compassion before he understands what those qualities might cost him. He braves dangerous sandstorms to share meals with friends and helps younger children hide when threats appear. His protective instincts emerge early and grow stronger with each experience. A pirate slaver raid led by someone named Crane nearly captures Anakin and his friends during one of their adventures. The attack fails, but the experience plants a hatred of slavery that will define his character for decades. Seeing others treated as property ignites anger that never fully disappears. Every night, Anakin gazes at the stars and dreams of worlds beyond Tatooine's dusty confines. Spacers who visit Watto's shop tell stories about the Republic capital Coruscant, describing a planet-sized city where anything seems possible. The capital becomes his symbol of hope and freedom. Even as a child, Anakin senses that destiny has something special planned for his life. He doesn't understand what that might mean or how it could happen from his current circumstances, but the feeling grows stronger as he gets older, pulling him toward an unknown future. The force that created him watches and waits for the right moment to set larger events in motion. Soon, a Jedi Master seeking starship parts will discover something far more valuable than hyperdrive components. The Chosen One's real journey is about to begin. A broken hyperdrive changes the course of galactic history. When Qui-Gon Jinn walks into Watto's junk shop looking for starship parts, he discovers something worth more than all the technology on Tatooine. 9-year-old Anakin is working in the shop when these strangers arrive from the wider galaxy. He's never met a Jedi before or anyone from beyond his desert world. Qui-Gon fascinates him immediately, along with his unusual companions. There's Jar Jar Binks with his clumsy charm, R2-D2 beeping and rolling around the shop, and most captivating of all, Padmé Naberi. Anakin thinks Padmé is a handmaiden serving Queen Amidala. He has no idea she's actually the queen herself, traveling in disguise. The young slave is completely smitten, asking her if she's an angel because he's heard they live on the moons of Iego and are the most beautiful creatures in the universe. His innocent crush leads to acts of kindness that reveal his true character. When a sandstorm hits Mos Espa, Anakin offers these strangers shelter in his small home. Shmi welcomes them despite their cramped quarters, and the family shares what little they have with people they've just met. During dinner, Qui-Gon pays close attention to the boys serving their modest meal. Something about Anakin feels different through the Force. The Jedi Master has spent decades sensing Force sensitivity in others, but this child radiates power unlike anything he's encountered before. The next day, Qui-Gon watches Anakin work on a pod racer behind Watto's shop. Humans don't normally race pods because their reflexes can't handle the incredible speeds involved. Only aliens with enhanced reaction times survive the brutal sport that kills drivers regularly across the Outer Rim. But Anakin talks casually about his pod racer, like piloting at deadly speeds is the most natural thing in the world. He explains how he's the only human who can do it, claiming he can see things before they happen. The boy doesn't understand he's describing Force precognition. Qui-Gon realizes he might be looking at the prophesied Chosen One. Ancient Jedi texts speak of someone born of the Force who will bring balance by destroying the Sith. This slave child displays exactly the kind of power those prophecies describe. A secret test confirms Qui-Gon's suspicions. He takes a sample of Anakin's blood and has his ship run a midi-chlorian count. The results exceed anything in Jedi records. Even Master Yoda never tested this high for Force sensitivity. The readings suggest Anakin was literally conceived by the Force itself. But knowing the boy's potential and freeing him from slavery are completely different challenges. Watto owns Anakin and Shmi legally under Hutt law. The Toydarian has no interest in credits from the Republic, and Jedi can't simply steal people even for noble reasons. Qui-Gon proposes a solution that could benefit everyone involved. Anakin will enter the upcoming Boonta Eve Classic pod race. If he wins, Watto gets the prize money and Qui-Gon gets the parts he needs. More importantly, the Jedi secretly bets Anakin's freedom on the outcome. The pod race becomes the most important sporting event in galactic history. Anakin faces professional drivers who've been competing for decades, many of them literally willing to kill opponents during the race. His main rival, Sebulba, openly sabotages other racers while the crowd cheers for blood and destruction. Despite being the youngest competitor by far, Anakin demonstrates piloting instincts that seem impossible. His Force sensitivity allows him to react to dangers before they fully develop. He navigates through crashes that destroy other racers while maintaining speeds that would disorient most humans. The victory makes him the first human child to ever win a pod race. The crowd goes wild as this unknown slave defeats experienced professionals on their own terms. But for Anakin, winning means something far more valuable than prize money or fame. He's earned his freedom. The celebration turns bittersweet when Anakin realizes what freedom actually costs. Qui-Gon's bet with Watto only covered the boy, leaving Shmi still enslaved. Mother and son must separate after 9 years of facing every hardship together. Shmi tells her son to go and not look back, to follow his dreams and make a better life than anything Tatooine can offer. She knows this opportunity might never come again, and her love for Anakin means wanting what's best for him even when it breaks her heart. The goodbye scene plants seeds that will grow into Anakin's greatest weaknesses. He hugs his mother desperately, already afraid of losing her forever. He promises C-3PO he'll come back to finish the droid someday. The fear of loss that will later consume him as Darth Vader begins in this moment of painful separation. Coruscant overwhelms Anakin with its endless cityscape and impossible towers reaching toward the stars. He's traveled from a world of sand and slavery to the galaxy's center of power and civilization. The Jedi Temple rises above the urban landscape like a monument to everything he hopes to become. The Jedi Council tests this unusual candidate with skepticism bordering on hostility. Master Yoda and Mace Windu sense his extraordinary force potential, but also detect dangerous emotions lurking beneath the surface. Fear of loss, anger at injustice, attachment to his mother create darkness that troubles the assembled masters. At 9 years old, Anakin is far older than the infants typically brought for Jedi training. Children usually begin learning to control their emotions before those emotions become fixed patterns. The Council worries that Anakin's personality has already formed in ways that make him unsuitable for their order. Qui-Gon argues passionately for his discovery, insisting that Anakin is the prophesied chosen one who will bring balance to the Force. He offers to train the boy personally, taking responsibility for any problems that might arise. The Council remains unconvinced, but agrees to delay their final decision. Events on Naboo interrupt the debate before anyone can resolve Anakin's future. The Trade Federation's invasion requires immediate Jedi intervention, and Qui-Gon brings his young protege along despite the obvious dangers. During the liberation of Theed, Qui-Gon tells Anakin to hide safely inside a starfighter cockpit. The curious boy starts pressing buttons and accidentally triggers the ship's autopilot, launching himself into the space battle raging overhead. What should be a disaster becomes a miracle. Anakin's Force sensitivity guides him through his first space combat, allowing him to destroy the Trade Federation's droid control ship from inside its hangar bay. His excited reaction as he escapes the exploding station shows he thinks the whole experience was as fun as pod racing. The victory on Naboo comes with devastating loss. Darth Maul cuts down Qui-Gon Jinn during their lightsaber duel, killing the only person who truly believed in Anakin's destiny. The boy loses his first father figure just as his new life begins. Obi-Wan Kenobi defeats Maul and honors his dying master's final request. He promises to train Anakin despite his own doubts about the boy's suitability for Jedi life. The Council reluctantly promotes Obi-Wan to Jedi Knight and assigns him this challenging first apprentice. At the victory celebration on Naboo, Anakin stands between his new master and Queen Amidala while the crowd cheers their liberation. He's officially become a Jedi Padawan, ready to begin training that will shape him into either the galaxy's greatest hero or its most terrible villain. Unknown to everyone celebrating, another figure watches from the shadows. Chancellor Palpatine has taken special notice of this gifted child, already planning a mentorship that will span decades. The seeds of Anakin's eventual corruption are planted even as his Jedi training begins. Growing up as the Chosen One means living under a microscope where every mistake gets magnified and every success carries impossible expectations. Anakin Skywalker is about to learn that being special comes with a price he never wanted to pay. Life in the Jedi Temple feels like wearing clothes that don't fit properly. Anakin trains alongside younglings who started learning before they could walk, while he came to the Order at 9 years old with a lifetime of experiences they can't understand. The other Padawans know who he's supposed to be, and that knowledge creates distance rather than friendship. Everyone watches him constantly. The Jedi Council keeps a close eye on his progress, looking for signs that their gamble on an older initiate is paying off or backfiring. Other students regard him as the prophesied Chosen One, which feeds his insecurity. Being treated as special makes him feel like an outsider, trying to prove he belongs. Obi-Wan becomes more than just a teacher during these difficult years. The bond between master and apprentice grows into something like brotherhood, built on mutual love and respect despite their frequent disagreements. But Anakin tests boundaries constantly, pushing against rules that seem designed to hold him back rather than help him grow. His impatience with Jedi traditions shows in everything he does. Anakin chafes under criticism and displays flashes of arrogance that worry his teachers. Master Yoda senses much fear in the young Padawan, while Obi-Wan notes that Anakin's exceptional talents have made him prideful in dangerous ways. Nightmares plague Anakin's sleep, filling his mind with visions he can't understand or control. He dreams about his mother suffering on Tatooine and sees glimpses of great pain waiting in his future. These Force visions feel more like curses than gifts, showing him terrible possibilities without explaining how to prevent them. Despite his inner struggles, Anakin's abilities develop at an incredible pace. His power in the Force grows stronger each day, while his skills with a lightsaber advance faster than most Padawans achieve in years of training. Obi-Wan watches his apprentice master techniques that should take decades to perfect. Their missions together take them across the galaxy, from core worlds to the dangerous Outer Rim territories. Each adventure teaches Anakin something new about the universe beyond Tatooine, while revealing more about his own character. Some lessons are inspiring, others deeply troubling. The mission to Zonama Sekot becomes one of their most significant early adventures. This living planet challenges everything Anakin thinks he knows about the relationship between technology and nature. His piloting talents and Force sensitivity allow him to bond with an organic starship, creating a connection that impresses even his experienced master. The living ship responds to Anakin in ways that surprise everyone involved. His natural understanding of mechanical systems extends to biological technology that most humans find incomprehensible. The experience hints at abilities that go far beyond normal Jedi training. But darker missions reveal troubling aspects of Anakin's personality that worry those who care about him. When they encounter Crane, the same slaver who raided Tatooine during Anakin's childhood, old hatred burns hotter than Jedi teachings can contain. The confrontation with Crane becomes a turning point that shows how deeply slavery has scarred Anakin's soul. During the rescue of captured slaves, he kills the pirate leader in a burst of anger that goes far beyond what the situation requires. The violence shocks Obi-Wan, who sees his apprentice's capacity for ruthlessness when provoked. The Jedi Council overlooks this incident as a heat of battle action. But Obi-Wan recognizes it as something more dangerous. Anakin's hatred of slavery runs so deep that it overrides his Jedi training when faced with those who profit from human suffering. The incident plants seeds of doubt about his apprentice's emotional control. Throughout these formative years, another influence shapes Anakin's development in ways the Jedi don't fully understand. Chancellor Palpatine maintains a friendship with the young Padawan that seems innocent but serves darker purposes. Palpatine becomes a private mentor who offers Anakin something the Jedi Order cannot provide. Where the Council criticizes and restrains him, the Chancellor praises his potential and encourages his ambitions. Palpatine tells Anakin he could become the greatest of all Jedi, feeding pride that Jedi teachings should eliminate. The relationship gives Anakin someone to confide in when temple life becomes overwhelming. He shares his frustrations with Jedi rules and his dreams of using his power to help people more directly. Palpatine listens with apparent sympathy while subtly guiding these conversations toward dangerous conclusions. Unknown to anyone in the Jedi Order, these private discussions plant seeds of doubt about their methods and philosophy. Palpatine encourages Anakin to question whether the Council's caution actually prevents him from fulfilling his destiny as the Chosen One. The Chancellor suggests that perhaps the galaxy needs stronger leadership to achieve lasting peace. These ideas take root slowly, growing stronger as Anakin faces setbacks and criticism from his teachers. He begins to think that maybe the Jedi approach is too passive for the problems facing the Republic. Perhaps someone with real vision and power could accomplish more than endless committees and debates. Anakin's mechanical talents flourish during his apprentice years, giving him outlets for creativity that pure Jedi training lacks. He constructs his first lightsaber with a blue blade that becomes his signature weapon for years to come. The process of building something so personal and important helps him feel more connected to Jedi traditions. His workshop in the temple quarters becomes a sanctuary where he can tinker with droids and starfighter components. Other Jedi find his hobby strange, but working with his hands helps Anakin process the complex emotions that meditation alone cannot resolve. The mechanical projects give him control over something in a life where so much feels predetermined. Form 5 lightsaber combat suits Anakin's aggressive personality and physical strength. He masters this fighting style faster than his instructors expect, showing natural talent for the more offensive-minded techniques. His brief experiments with dual-wielding hint at even greater potential waiting to be unlocked. By his late teens, Anakin and Obi-Wan have become a formidable team known throughout the Jedi Order. Their missions succeed through a combination of Obi-Wan's wisdom and Anakin's raw talent, though their unorthodox methods sometimes concern the Council. They represent a new generation of Jedi facing challenges the old masters never imagined. Anakin still shows compassion and heroic instincts on many of their adventures. He saves innocent civilians, defends helpless villages, and demonstrates the Jedi ideals of justice and protection. These moments prove that his heart remains in the right place despite his struggles with attachment and impatience. But the foundation for his eventual fall is already being laid through years of isolation, manipulation, and inner conflict. The boy who dreamed of freeing all slaves is becoming a young man who believes that good intentions justify whatever methods achieve them. The path to darkness looks like the road to heroism when you're walking it one step at a time. 10 years of dreams are about to collide with reality when Anakin Skywalker sees the girl who captured his heart. But love and duty make dangerous companions when someone is already walking the edge between light and darkness. Senator Padme Amidala needs protection from assassination attempts that threaten to destabilize the Republic. The Jedi Council assigns Anakin and Obi-Wan as her bodyguards, bringing the 19-year-old Padawan face to face with the woman who has lived in his thoughts for a decade. The reunion ignites feelings that Anakin has carried since childhood. He dreamed of Padme for years, keeping her image in his heart while training to become a Jedi. Now she stands before him as a powerful senator, but her presence still takes his breath away. Serving as her protector creates opportunities for private conversations that reveal how much both of them have changed. Anakin confides his frustrations about Obi-Wan's strictness and shares his aggressive views on how peace should be achieved in the galaxy. His ideas about strong leadership and decisive action worry Padme, who believes in democracy and negotiation. She initially resists any romantic involvement because their positions make such feelings impossible. Anakin's Jedi vows forbid attachment, while her political career would be destroyed by scandal. But the attraction between them grows stronger despite every rational reason to keep their distance. Their time together on Naboo allows deeper bonds to form away from the pressures of Coruscant. The beautiful lake country where Padme spent her childhood provides a peaceful setting for conversations that gradually break down the barriers between them. Neither can deny what they feel for each other anymore. But nightmares shatter Anakin's happiness just as he begins to hope for a future with Padme. Visions of his mother in terrible pain haunt his sleep, growing stronger and more detailed each night. The Force shows him Shmi suffering in ways that make him desperate to help her. Against direct orders from the Jedi Council, Anakin convinces Padme to travel with him to Tatooine. He can't focus on protecting her while knowing his mother might be dying somewhere he could reach. The decision to abandon his mission marks another step away from Jedi discipline and toward personal desires. The homestead where Shmi now lives brings both hope and devastating news. Cliegg Lars freed her from slavery and married her, giving Anakin's mother the happy life she deserved. But Tusken Raiders kidnapped her weeks earlier, and rescue attempts have failed to bring her home alive. Anakin tracks the Tusken camp through the desert, his anger building with each hour of searching. He finds his mother barely alive, tortured beyond healing by captors who saw her as nothing more than property to abuse. Shmi dies in his arms after their brief final reunion, her last words a whisper of love for the son she always believed would do great things. The death breaks something fundamental inside Anakin's soul. Grief and rage combine into a fury that obliterates every moral principle the Jedi taught him. He doesn't just kill the Tusken warriors who captured his mother. He slaughters the entire village, including women and children who had nothing to do with Shmi's suffering. The massacre represents Anakin's first complete surrender to the dark side of the Force. His lightsaber cuts through innocent lives, while hatred consumes every trace of compassion and mercy. The boy who once dreamed of freeing all slaves becomes someone who commits genocide against an entire community. Even Yoda feels the disturbance in the Force from across the galaxy as Anakin gives in to emotions that should never control a Jedi. The tremors of darkness ripple through space, announcing that something terrible has happened to the Chosen One. The balance he was meant to restore tilts further toward shadow. Padme finds Anakin weeping over his mother's body, horrified by what he's done but unable to take it back. He confesses his crimes to her while struggling with remorse and shame that war with his conviction that the Tuscans deserved their fate. She comforts him despite her own shock at learning what love can drive someone to do. The tragedy forges a deeper bond between them, even as it reveals dangerous truths about Anakin's character. Padme sees the capacity for terrible violence that lurks beneath his heroic exterior. But she also sees the pain that drove him to such extremes. Love makes her forgive what wisdom should condemn. Anakin brings Shmi's body back to the Lars homestead for burial, vowing that he will never fail to protect someone he cares about again. The promise sounds noble, but contains the seeds of future catastrophe. His determination to prevent loss will eventually justify any action, no matter how evil. The crisis on Geonosis interrupts their mourning when Obi-Wan's capture forces them into action. Their rescue attempt fails, landing all three of them in a droid factory that nearly kills them before they reach the arena where Separatists plan their public execution. Facing death in the Geonosian arena, Anakin and Padme finally admit their love for each other. The confession comes when they believe these might be their last moments together, removing any reason to hide feelings they can no longer deny. Love spoken in the shadow of death carries weight that changes everything between them. The arrival of Jedi rescue forces transforms their execution into the opening battle of the Clone Wars. Chaos erupts as Republic clone troopers fight Separatist droids while lightsabers clash in the arena. Anakin retrieves a replacement weapon after machinery destroys his original lightsaber and joins the fight against overwhelming odds. Count Dooku's escape attempt leads to Anakin's first confrontation with a Sith Lord. His impatience proves nearly fatal when he rushes ahead of Obi-Wan to face the enemy alone. Dooku's Force lightning sends him crashing across the hangar, demonstrating the difference between talent and experience. When Anakin recovers, he grabs a fallen Jedi's lightsaber and dual wields both weapons against Dooku. The sight of a Padawan fighting with two blades should be impressive, but the Sith Lord's superior skill makes the extra weapon meaningless. Decades of training triumph over raw power and determination. Dooku's lightsaber cuts through Anakin's right arm at the elbow, severing the limb and ending the duel with brutal efficiency. The injury becomes Anakin's rite of passage as a Jedi, marking his transition from student to warrior through pain and loss. The cybernetic prosthetic he receives afterward represents the first step toward becoming more machine than man. The duel plants seeds of hatred that will grow for years. Dooku sensed Anakin's incredible power and fury during their fight, recognizing potential that both impressed and alarmed him. The young Jedi's strength in the Force exceeded anything the Sith Lord expected from someone so untrained in its darker applications. Master Yoda's intervention saves Anakin's life, but allows Dooku to escape with valuable intelligence about Republic capabilities. The Clone Wars begin with the Separatists holding advantages they shouldn't possess, thanks partly to Anakin's reckless charge that cost time and revealed Jedi tactics. Recovering from his injuries, Anakin realizes how close he came to losing Padme forever. The fear of separation that has haunted him since leaving his mother intensifies into desperate need to secure what happiness he can find. He decides to break the Jedi Code rather than risk losing another person he loves. Their secret wedding on Naboo takes place at a lake retreat where only droids serve as witnesses. C-3PO and R2-D2 watch as Anakin and Padme exchange vows that bind them together despite the impossible circumstances they face. The ceremony is simple but meaningful, creating a marriage that must remain hidden from the galaxy. The decision to marry in secret creates a double life that will define Anakin's remaining years as a Jedi. He becomes a war hero and respected knight in public while hiding his role as a devoted husband in private. The constant deception adds stress to an already complicated existence. As they depart Naboo, the Clone Wars spread across the galaxy, while Anakin stands at the crossroads between love and duty. His marriage to Padme raises the stakes of every decision he makes, giving him something more precious than his own life to protect. The seeds of his eventual fall are planted in soil, watered by love and fear in equal measure. Sometimes greatness and darkness grow from the same soil. Anakin Skywalker is about to become the Republic's greatest hero while taking steps that will lead him toward becoming its worst nightmare. The Clone Wars transform Anakin from promising Padawan into legendary warrior faster than anyone expects. His bravery at Geonosis and in early battles earns him recognition that usually takes decades to achieve. The Jedi Council grants him the rank of Jedi Knight within months of the war's beginning, far sooner than typical. The knighting ceremony marks a pivotal moment in Anakin's life. Obi-Wan cuts off his Padawan braid, while Master Yoda declares him a full member of the Jedi Order. The young man who once fixed pod racers in a junk shop now stands as an equal among the galaxy's most respected peacekeepers. His new status brings responsibilities that shape the rest of his life. Anakin becomes a general in the Grand Army of the Republic, commanding clone troopers across multiple battlefronts. The 501st Legion becomes his elite unit, developing fierce loyalty to their leader, who treats them as individuals rather than expendable assets. The battlefield reveals abilities that go beyond anything the Jedi Temple could teach. Anakin combines reckless courage with unmatched piloting skills and lightsaber prowess to win victories that seem impossible. His reputation spreads through Republic forces as someone who always finds a way to succeed against overwhelming odds. The Battle of Munalinst becomes one of his most famous early victories. Anakin spearheads a risky space assault that breaks through Separatist defenses, personally defeating their ace pilot Dirge in single combat. The victory opens the planet to Republic liberation while cementing his status as a pilot without equal. His duels with Asajj Ventress create some of the war's most dramatic moments. This deadly dark Jedi has been harassing Republic forces across the galaxy, making her a priority target for Jedi intervention. When Ventress lures Anakin to Yavin 4 for a trap, she gets more than she bargained for. The jungle duel pushes Anakin toward darkness in ways that should worry his teachers. Ventress taunts him about his mother's death and Obi-Wan's perceived weaknesses, triggering anger that makes him tap into the dark side. His raw power overwhelms her defenses, ultimately hurling her off a temple terrace where she barely survives the fall. The sight of Anakin wielding both his blue lightsaber and one of her red blades creates a frightening display of what he might become. He wins the fight, but edges closer to the line that separates Jedi from Sith. Each victory over Ventress feeds his confidence while teaching him to draw strength from anger and hatred. During a later encounter on Coruscant, Ventress manages to scar Anakin's face with her lightsaber blade. The cut above his right eye heals into a permanent mark that he carries for the rest of his life. When he reunites with Padme afterward, he downplays the injury with humor, but the scar symbolizes how war is changing him. The campaign on Jabim tests Anakin's leadership when he takes command of a squad of Padawans under brutal conditions. These young Jedi look to him for guidance while facing enemies who show no mercy to Republic forces. The pressure of keeping them alive while achieving military objectives weighs heavily on his conscience. When Anakin believes Obi-Wan has been killed during the fighting, his reaction reveals the depth of his emotional attachments. Rage consumes his tactical thinking as he leads a devastating charge that crushes enemy forces through sheer fury. The victory comes at a terrible cost in casualties that could have been avoided with a calmer approach. His liberation of Presitlin demonstrates both his heroic qualities and his willingness to bend rules when lives are at stake. Anakin's actions save the planet's communications center and protect countless civilians, but his methods violate Jedi protocol about patience and careful planning. Results matter more to him than following procedures. The Siege of Ryloth showcases his compassion when he frees Twi'lek prisoners despite strategic risks to the mission. Clone troopers under his command watch their general risk his own safety to save beings who can't defend themselves. These moments prove that his heart remains in the right place, even as his methods become more aggressive. His treatment of clone troopers earns him loyalty that goes beyond military discipline. Anakin remembers their names, cares about their individual welfare, and mourns their deaths in ways that other Jedi find excessive. The clones call him General Skywalker with genuine affection, but the Jedi Council grows concerned about Anakin's increasingly aggressive methods. He sometimes uses excessive force against enemies who pose no immediate threat. His tendency to act alone or with only his clones shows disregard for the Jedi emphasis on patience and collaboration with others. Obi-Wan and Master Yoda counsel him about these troubling tendencies, but Anakin trusts his instincts over their caution. He believes that winning battles quickly saves more lives than following traditional Jedi approaches that prioritize avoiding civilian casualties over achieving decisive victory. His independent streak wins wars while creating conflicts with his teachers. Separatist leaders begin to fear Skywalker as the Republic's fiercest knight. Intelligence reports describe him as someone who shows no mercy to enemies who threaten innocent lives. The reputation becomes a weapon that demoralizes opposing forces before battles even begin. One incident on Jabim reveals the darker aspects of his evolving character. Anakin executes a warlord who had already surrendered because that enemy caused civilian suffering through his actions. The decision violates fundamental Jedi principles about showing mercy to defeated opponents. Anakin rationalizes such choices as serving the greater good. Dead warlords can't order more atrocities against helpless populations. Quick executions prevent future suffering, even if they compromise Jedi ideals about redemption and second chances. Each rationalization makes the next moral compromise easier to accept. His reputation becomes double-edged as the war progresses. Republic citizens see him as their greatest defender, while some in the Jedi Order quietly worry about his methods. The boy who once dreamed of freeing slaves has become a man who kills enemies without hesitation when he judges them deserving of death. The Battle of Bothawui demonstrates both his tactical brilliance and his willingness to ignore orders. Anakin uses himself as bait to trap enemy fighters in a maneuver that succeeds brilliantly but violates direct commands from his superiors. Results justify methods in his mind, even when those methods risk catastrophic failure. By the war's midpoint, Anakin has become both admired and feared within the Jedi Order. His victories save countless lives and protect Republic worlds from separatist occupation. But his methods increasingly resemble those of the enemies he fights, using fear and violence to achieve noble goals. The clone troopers of the 501st Legion follow him with devotion that borders on worship. They've seen him risk everything to save their lives and protect innocent civilians. To them, General Skywalker represents everything good about the Republic's cause in this galactic conflict. But darkness grows alongside heroism as war teaches Anakin that good intentions can justify terrible actions. Each compromise with his conscience makes the next one easier. The foundation for his eventual fall gets laid one victory at a time, built from the same courage and determination that makes him the Republic's greatest champion. The final year of the Clone Wars pushes heroes to their breaking points while shadows prepare to swallow the light. Anakin Skywalker stands on the edge of becoming everything he once fought against. The Outer Rim sieges become the war's bloodiest campaigns as Republic forces assault entrenched separatist strongholds. These grueling battles on worlds like Praesitlin, Salukami, and Magito test both Anakin's endurance and his moral limits. Each victory comes at a cost that weighs heavier on his conscience. The campaign on Nelvon creates one of the war's strangest episodes when Anakin undergoes a shamanic trial in an ancient cave. Local shamans lead him into darkness where prophetic paintings cover the walls with disturbing images. The artwork depicts a warrior transforming into a mechanical monster, showing a future that chills him to the bone. The vision unsettles Anakin because it feels more like prophecy than imagination. The cave paintings suggest that fate has already decided his destiny, reducing his choices to illusions while real events march toward an inevitable conclusion. He leaves Nelvon with questions he can't answer and fears he can't shake. Despite these dark omens, Anakin continues excelling as a military leader throughout the Outer Rim campaigns. His forces destroy Techno-Union foundries on Cato Neimoidia, crippling separatist manufacturing capabilities. He leads dangerous rescue missions that save captured Republic prisoners from certain death. But success in battle doesn't translate to satisfaction with his place in the Jedi Order. Anakin's frustration with the Council grows stronger as his accomplishments pile up without recognition he believes he deserves. They still refuse to grant him Master rank, despite feats that surpass many senior Jedi. The Council's reluctance to fully trust him feeds resentments that have been building for years. Anakin has sacrificed everything for the Republic, while his teachers continue treating him like a student who needs constant supervision. Their caution feels like insults to someone who has proven himself on countless battlefields. His relationship with Obi-Wan becomes strained as their roles shift from master and apprentice to supposed equals. Anakin frequently chafes under guidance from someone he now considers old-fashioned and overly cautious. Their friendship survives these tensions, but barely. Chancellor Palpatine becomes Anakin's most trusted confidant during this difficult period. The Chancellor offers understanding that the Jedi Council withholds, praising Anakin's potential while lamenting how the Order fails to appreciate his contributions. These private conversations plant seeds of doubt about Jedi wisdom and methods. Palpatine's influence encourages Anakin to question fundamental Jedi principles that once seemed unshakable. The code against attachment feels antiquated to someone happily married in secret. Perhaps the Jedi approach to life is too restrictive for modern realities that demand decisive action rather than endless meditation. These doubts make Anakin see his teachers as somewhat hypocritical or weak, even as he maintains surface loyalty to the Order. He begins thinking that maybe strong leadership matters more than ancient traditions when innocent lives hang in the balance. During one mission on Coruscant, Palpatine gets kidnapped in what appears to be a separatist plot. Anakin leads the rescue operation with fury that surprises everyone involved. He cuts through bounty hunters with brutal efficiency that goes far beyond what the situation requires. Unknown to Anakin, the entire kidnapping is staged to give him opportunities to tap into anger and hatred. Palpatine orchestrates these scenarios to push his protege toward darkness while maintaining plausible deniability about his manipulations. Each engineered crisis moves Anakin closer to the point where the dark side feels natural. The hunt for Asajj Ventress creates another test of Anakin's moral limits when he and Obi-Wan track their old enemy through the galaxy. This time, Obi-Wan finds her first and makes a decision that enrages his former apprentice. Instead of allowing Anakin to finish Ventress off, Obi-Wan shows mercy by helping her escape. The choice reveals how much Obi-Wan has noticed about the darkness growing in Anakin. His decision to spare Ventress comes partly from compassion, but mostly from fear about what his friend might become if he continues down this path. Mercy becomes an act of intervention. Anakin's fury at being denied justice shows Obi-Wan how far his former student has drifted from Jedi ideals. The young man who once dreamed of freeing slaves now demands the right to execute defeated enemies. The transformation terrifies someone who remembers the innocent boy from Tatooine. Recognizing the warning signs, Obi-Wan urges Anakin to take leave and visit Padme on Naboo. He hopes that love might soothe the anger that seems to be consuming his friend's better nature. The suggestion comes from someone who suspects more about Anakin's secret marriage than he's willing to admit out loud. Obi-Wan's brotherly loyalty makes him turn a blind eye to violations of the Jedi Code that he would normally report to the Council. His love for Anakin creates complicity in choices that undermine everything they've both sworn to uphold. Good intentions pave roads that lead to terrible destinations. The war's climax arrives when General Grievous launches a bold assault on Coruscant itself, capturing Chancellor Palpatine from the heart of Republic power. The attack forces Anakin and Obi-Wan to abandon their Outer Rim campaigns and race back to save the government they've spent years defending. Their rescue mission aboard Grievous's flagship creates the setting for Anakin's final test as a Jedi. Count Dooku waits in the ship's observation deck, ready for a rematch that will determine more than just the Chancellor's fate. This duel will decide whether Anakin remains a servant of the light or embraces the darkness that has been calling to him. The fighting this time reveals how much Anakin has grown in power and fallen in wisdom. He taps into controlled rage to overwhelm Dooku's defenses, cutting off both of the Count's hands and leaving his enemy kneeling helplessly on the deck. Victory tastes sweeter because it comes through anger. Palpatine's urging pushes Anakin over the line he's been approaching for years. In a moment of hate and vengeance for all the war's suffering, he executes the defenseless Count Dooku by cutting off his head. The act violates every principle the Jedi taught him about showing mercy to defeated enemies. The deed troubles Anakin because he knows it's wrong, but Palpatine's praise makes the guilt feel less important than the satisfaction. Killing Dooku removes one of the Sith Lords secretly controlling the war, though Anakin doesn't realize he's just eliminated one of his true master's rivals. This victory achieved through anger nudges Anakin further toward darkness in ways that the manipulative Palpatine clearly intended. Each compromise with his conscience makes the next one easier to accept. The foundation for his final fall gets built one moral failure at a time. Unknown to everyone celebrating Dooku's death, they've just witnessed the last act of Anakin Skywalker as a true Jedi. The man who walks away from that duel carries darkness that will soon consume everything good about him. The transformation from hero to villain has already begun in his heart. The moment that changes galactic history forever starts with a nightmare that feels too real to ignore. Anakin Skywalker is about to discover that some futures are written in stone, and fighting them only makes them come true. Returning to Coruscant after rescuing Chancellor Palpatine, Anakin faces visions that shatter his peace of mind. He dreams of Padme dying in childbirth, seeing her suffer in ways that make him desperate to find some way to save her. The nightmares feel like prophecies rather than fears, showing a future he refuses to accept. His obsession with preventing Padme's death consumes every waking moment. Anakin searches the Jedi archives for any knowledge about stopping death, but their teachings offer only acceptance of natural cycles. The idea of losing Padme the way he lost his mother creates panic that overwhelms his training and judgment. Chancellor Palpatine senses this desperation and begins planting seeds about ancient Sith knowledge. He tells Anakin about Darth Plagueis, a Dark Lord who supposedly learned to prevent death through the Force. The story sounds like a fairy tale, but it offers hope that Jedi teachings deny. The revelation that destroys Anakin's world comes during what should be a routine meeting. Palpatine reveals himself as Darth Sidious, the Dark Lord of the Sith, who has been controlling both sides of the Clone Wars. The man Anakin trusted most has been his enemy all along, manipulating events from the shadows. Yet even this betrayal cannot break Palpatine's hold over Anakin's mind. The Chancellor promises that only through the dark side can Anakin gain the power to save Padme from the fate his visions have shown. The choice becomes saving his wife or remaining loyal to the Jedi Order that offers only empty comfort. Torn between duty and love, Anakin initially makes the right choice. He reports Palpatine's true identity to the Jedi Council, setting in motion events that should end the Sith threat forever. Master Mace Windu leads a team to arrest the Chancellor, while Anakin waits at the temple as ordered. But fear proves stronger than loyalty when the moment of decision arrives. Anakin races to Palpatine's office to find Windu gaining the upper hand against the Sith Lord, who might be Padme's only hope for survival. The sight of his potential savior about to die triggers panic that overrides his Jedi training. The betrayal happens in an instant that changes everything. Anakin severs Mace Windu's sword hand with his lightsaber, leaving the Jedi Master defenseless against Sidious's Force lightning. The action makes him complicit in his teacher's death while burning the last bridge between him and the light side. Kneeling before his new master, Anakin pledges to do whatever Sidious asks to save Padme. The transformation into Darth Vader begins with words of submission. Fear and love twist together into chains that bind him to darkness more securely than any physical restraint. Sidious wastes no time putting his new apprentice to work. Order 66 goes out across the galaxy, turning clone troopers against their Jedi commanders in a coordinated slaughter. The Jedi Purge begins with Vader leading the assault on their most sacred stronghold. The attack on the Jedi Temple becomes known as Nightfall, though the name fails to capture the horror of what happens there. Vader leads the 501st Legion through corridors where he once studied and trained, killing everyone they encounter. His lightsaber cuts down knights, masters, and even children too young to understand why their protector has become their destroyer. The Temple Battlemaster Tsin Dralig dies fighting his former colleague in the training halls where he once taught lightsaber techniques. Vader's blade ends the life of someone who helped shape him into the warrior, now destroying everything they both once protected. The most chilling moment comes when a group of younglings approaches Vader in the temple's Great Hall. They recognize Master Skywalker and run to him for protection from the clone troopers attacking their home. His lightsaber ignites in response to their trust, creating a scene that destroys any remaining innocence in his soul. Holo recordings capture these atrocities for Obi-Wan and Yoda to discover later. The images show Vader methodically executing former friends and colleagues, while the 501st Legion provides support. The systematic efficiency of the slaughter proves this isn't random violence, but calculated elimination of the Jedi Order. Vader even storms the Jedi archives to secure a Sith holocron for his master, killing librarian Jocasta Nu when she tries to stop him. The woman who helped countless Jedi find knowledge dies protecting information that Vader now serves the dark side by stealing. By dawn, smoke rises from the burning temple while Sidious transforms the Republic into the Galactic Empire. The democracy that stood for 1,000 years dies with a speech about security, while Vader completes his first mission as a Sith Lord. The assault on Mustafar eliminates the Separatist leadership in a display of cold efficiency that shocks even hardened warriors. Vader enters their conference room and slaughters every member of the council that prolonged the Clone Wars. Trade Federation viceroys, techno-union leaders, and banking clan representatives all die by his lightsaber. The massacre shows how completely Vader has embraced his new role. These beings pose no threat to him personally, but they represent loose ends that his master once eliminated. Their deaths serve no purpose beyond demonstrating absolute loyalty to the dark side. Padme's arrival on Mustafar creates the last test of any remaining light in Vader's soul. She comes hoping to bring back the man she married, but finds only darkness wearing his face. Her horror at learning what he's done triggers his paranoia about losing her. When Obi-Wan emerges from her ship, Vader's rage explodes into violence that fulfills his worst fears. Believing his former master has turned Padme against him, he uses the Force to choke his pregnant wife into unconsciousness. The action he takes to prevent losing her becomes the cause of her death. The duel between former master and apprentice rages across Mustafar's hellish landscape, while lava flows around them like rivers of molten hate. Obi-Wan fights with sorrowful duty, while Vader attacks with fury that consumes everything good about his former self. The battle ends when Obi-Wan gains the high ground and implores Vader to surrender. Arrogance and rage drive the fallen Jedi to attack anyway, resulting in his remaining limbs being severed by someone who once loved him like a brother. Vader collapses at the lava's edge while his body burns from radiant heat. Obi-Wan's departure, while his former apprentice burns alive, represents the final death of their relationship. The Jedi Master takes Vader's lightsaber and leaves him for dead, sensing through the Force that darkness has consumed him beyond any hope of redemption. Sidious arrives to rescue his broken apprentice and complete the transformation begun with betrayal. In a medical facility on Coruscant, Vader's shattered body gets encased in black cybernetic armor that will sustain his life while imprisoning his soul. Padme dies in childbirth despite medical efforts to save her, taking with her Vader's last connection to the light side. Her final words speak of believing good still exists in Anakin, but that hope dies with her. Sidious tells Vader that his anger killed his wife, completing the lie that chains him to darkness forever. The twins Luke and Leia are separated and hidden while their father becomes the Empire's most feared enforcer. The man who was Anakin Skywalker has been completely subsumed by Darth Vader's persona. The transformation from hero to villain is complete, leaving only a machine in black armor where once walked the galaxy's greatest hope. Learning to be a monster takes practice, even when you have the best teacher in the galaxy. Darth Vader is about to discover that becoming the Empire's most feared enforcer means killing everything good that once lived inside Anakin Skywalker. The black armor that saves Vader's life also becomes his prison. Every breath requires mechanical assistance, while constant pain reminds him of what he lost on Mustafar. His once incredible agility is gone, replaced by slower movements that force him to completely reimagine how he fights with a lightsaber. The early weeks after his transformation bring rage and self-pity that threaten to overwhelm him. Vader struggles with prosthetic limbs that feel alien and a breathing apparatus that makes every moment a reminder of his defeat. The physical limitations frustrate someone who once moved like lightning in battle. Palpatine uses this anger as a tool to complete his apprentice's conversion to the dark side. He tells Vader to embrace the pain and use it to kill whatever remains of Anakin Skywalker within himself. The Emperor wants his enforcer to bury any trace of compassion or mercy that might interfere with the Empire's brutal work. Vader's first major test comes on the Outer Rim world of Murkana, where multiple Jedi survivors have been detected. When confronted by former colleagues who once fought beside him during the Clone Wars, he hesitates for a moment. Part of him still thinks like Anakin, remembering friendship and shared struggles. But fury overcomes sentiment as Vader gives in to the darkness consuming his soul. He slaughters Jedi Roan Shrine and others who trusted him enough to try reasoning rather than immediately attacking. Each death makes the next one easier while burying Anakin's identity deeper beneath Vader's persona. The Great Jedi Purge becomes Vader's ongoing quest across the galaxy. Order 66 eliminated most of the Jedi Order, but scattered survivors still hide on remote worlds or fight back in small groups. Any Force user who escaped that first coordinated strike becomes a target for systematic extermination. Vader leads specialized hunting units, including the 501st Legion, now called Vader's Fist, in honor of their new commander. These clone troopers who once served Anakin Skywalker now follow Darth Vader with the same loyalty, though they understand that something fundamental has changed about their general. The hunt takes him to worlds like Kashyyyk, where he fights both Jedi survivors and local Wookiee warriors during the planet's Imperial subjugation. Vader secures the world for the Empire while taking many Wookiees as slaves, demonstrating the strategic thinking that makes him valuable beyond simple intimidation. During this campaign, Chewbacca and Tarful help Master Yoda escape Imperial forces, though Vader doesn't directly encounter the ancient Jedi Master. The missed opportunity frustrates him because killing Yoda would prove his superiority over the old ways that supposedly held him back. His partnership with Grand Moff Tarkin develops during these early Imperial operations. Both men share a respect for order maintained through fear, creating a professional relationship based on mutual understanding of how power really works. Tarkin appreciates Vader's effectiveness, while Vader recognizes a kindred spirit who believes results matter more than methods. Most Imperial officers remain intimidated by Vader's presence and uncertain about his true nature. His identity as the former Anakin Skywalker stays secret except to a small inner circle. To the Empire at large, he's simply the Emperor's mysterious dark enforcer who appears wherever resistance needs crushing. The establishment of the Imperial Inquisitorius gives Vader additional tools for hunting surviving Jedi. These dark side agents are often former Jedi or other Force sensitives who have been turned and trained to ferret out hidden enemies. Notable inquisitors like Antinnis Tremaine and Jarek become his instruments for dealing with minor threats. Vader maintains authority over all Inquisitor operations while personally handling any significant targets they discover. He sometimes trains or tests these agents himself, occasionally dueling them to remind everyone who holds ultimate power within their organization. When groups of Jedi try to mount organized resistance, Vader eliminates them with legendary efficiency. He kills Echu Shen-Jon, a respected master from the Clone Wars, and destroys entire cells of survivors who think they can trap him. The Purge comic series shows one such failed ambush where a band of Jedi lure Vader into what should be a perfect trap, only to be utterly defeated by his power and cunning. Within 2 years of the war's end, Vader has personally destroyed all but the most elusive Jedi survivors. Only masters like Yoda and Obi-Wan remain beyond his reach, hidden so completely that even the Empire's vast resources cannot locate them. The systematic elimination of the Jedi cements Vader's reputation as the preeminent killer of Force users. His name becomes spoken in whispered fear across the galaxy, while his stark black armor transforms him into a symbol of Imperial might. During this period, Anakin's compassionate nature gets almost entirely buried beneath Vader's ruthless persona. The man who once risked everything to save innocent lives becomes someone who views mercy as weakness and kindness as foolishness. Vader's private moments reveal a soul consumed by anger and self-loathing. He broods alone in his meditation chamber, twisting memories of Padme into fuel for his hatred. The love that once defined him becomes another weapon for maintaining his commitment to darkness. His hatred focuses especially on Obi-Wan, whom he blames for everything that went wrong in his life. The betrayal he feels about his former master, supposedly turning Padme against him, justifies his current path while providing emotional energy for his dark side powers. Believing himself betrayed by everyone he once loved, Vader develops fierce loyalty to Palpatine as the one figure who has never abandoned him. This devotion is built on fear and manipulation, but it serves the Emperor's purposes perfectly. Palpatine keeps his apprentice on a tight leash, giving him enough power to enforce Imperial rule while always maintaining ultimate authority. When Vader shows too much independent thought, the Emperor reminds him of his place through punishment that often involves Force lightning. These training sessions where Palpatine subdues Vader serve multiple purposes. They reinforce the power dynamic between master and apprentice while providing outlets for the Emperor's own cruel nature. The pain keeps Vader angry while demonstrating the futility of rebellion. Ordinary beings across the galaxy learn to speak Vader's name in hushed tones as stories of his ruthlessness spread. His blood-red lightsaber and remorseless efficiency create a reputation that often wins battles before they begin. Fear becomes his most effective weapon. By the time the Empire fully consolidates its power, Vader has settled completely into his role as the Emperor's second-in-command. The transformation from bright, idealistic Anakin Skywalker to this grim enforcer is essentially complete in the Legends timeline. The phrase that defines him during this era captures the totality of his change. Anakin Skywalker is dead, and Darth Vader lives. The man who once dreamed of freeing all slaves has become the Empire's most efficient tool for enslaving the galaxy. Building a galactic dictatorship requires someone willing to do the jobs that ordinary people can't stomach. Darth Vader is about to spend the next decade proving that no task is too brutal when the Emperor's will must be enforced. The Empire's consolidation across thousands of star systems becomes Vader's primary responsibility as Palpatine's enforcer. He crushes early uprisings before they can spread, intimidates Imperial governors who show signs of disloyalty, and secures vital projects that will cement the new regime's power for generations to come. His most important assignment involves overseeing construction of the Death Star, the ultimate weapon that will make rebellion impossible through sheer terror. Vader periodically visits the construction sites, first on Geonosis, where the project began, then later on Despair, where the work continues in absolute secrecy. The visits strike fear into everyone involved with the massive undertaking. Vader enforces brutal slave labor quotas while dealing ruthlessly with any incompetence that threatens the project's timeline. Officers and engineers live in constant dread of disappointing someone whose patience for failure approaches zero. Advisor Lemelisk, one of the Death Star's key designers, becomes terrified of Vader's expectations after witnessing what happens to those who fall short. The Empire's most brilliant minds work under pressure that goes far beyond normal project deadlines, when the consequences of mistakes include death. Vader's habit of executing high-ranking officers who disappoint him becomes a dark legend throughout the Imperial Navy. Word spreads that serving under Lord Vader means performing perfectly or dying painfully. The reputation ensures excellence through fear while maintaining discipline that other commanders can only dream of achieving. His campaigns across the galaxy demonstrate the Empire's reach into every corner of civilized space. On Bandamir, he crushes a mining colony revolt with such efficiency that neighboring systems abandon thoughts of resistance. The swift response shows that even remote worlds cannot escape Imperial attention. Crime syndicates that challenge Imperial law discover that their old methods of bribery and intimidation mean nothing against someone who answers only to the Emperor. Vader eliminates organizations that think credits can buy them protection from consequences, proving that the Empire's justice applies to everyone, regardless of wealth or connections. The uprising on Inusagai becomes an example that echoes across the galaxy when an entire city attempts to defy Imperial rule. Vader's response is so swift and merciless that other potential rebels think twice about organizing resistance movements. The city that dared to stand against the Empire serves as a warning about the price of defiance. His mission to Honagar creates one of his most valuable long-term assets when he brokers a deal to secure the Nogri as silent assassins. These deadly beings come to venerate Vader after he appears to help their poisoned world, though his assistance serves Imperial interests. The partnership with Grand Moff Tarkin solidifies during joint operations like the pacification of Kashyyyk. Both men appreciate efficiency and results over sentiment, creating a professional relationship based on mutual respect for order, maintained through strength. Their cooperation proves that the Empire's leaders can work together when their goals align. Tarkin's command of the Death Star project creates opportunities for ongoing collaboration as construction progresses. Their relationship remains professional rather than friendly, but each recognizes the other's value to Imperial success. Together, they represent the Empire's iron fist through different methods. While Tarkin inspires fear through the Death Star's planet-killing capability, Vader achieves the same effect through his personal presence. Subordinates understand that disappointing either man leads to unpleasant consequences, though Vader's punishments tend to be more immediate and permanent. Despite his fearsome reputation, Vader privately struggles with limitations imposed by his injuries and armor. He undertakes self-improvement regimens designed to strengthen his connection to the dark side while testing the boundaries of what his damaged body can achieve. These solitary exercises sometimes involve modifying his armor or pushing his force abilities beyond normal limits. Vader experiments with using pain to transcend physical constraints, though his injuries impose a ceiling that frustrates someone accustomed to unlimited potential. His quest for greater power reflects the Sith tradition of apprentices eventually overthrowing their masters. Vader understands that someday he must challenge Palpatine for ultimate control, but he knows that time has not yet arrived. Instead, he channels that ambition into terrorizing the Empire's enemies. The construction of Bast Castle on the acid rain world of Vyun provides Vader with a private retreat where he can pursue dark side experiments away from Imperial oversight. This fortress becomes his laboratory for studying Sith artifacts and conducting meditation that would horrify even hardened Imperial officers. The castle's existence remains secret from most of the Empire, while serving as a refuge where Vader can explore the depths of his power without interference. The dark side aura of Vyun enhances his abilities while providing solitude that someone of his nature requires for true focus. As resistance to Imperial rule begins organizing into something more dangerous than isolated incidents, Vader initially regards scattered rebels as minor problems that normal Imperial forces can handle. He personally intervenes only when specific cells pose unusual threats or when examples need to be made. His elimination of insurgents on worlds like Mantuine and Corellia demonstrates the Empire's ability to strike anywhere resistance appears. These targeted operations serve as warnings while gathering intelligence about rebel organization and leadership. Leaders like Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and Garm Bel Iblis begin planting seeds of what will become the Rebel Alliance, though their activities remain small-scale and seemingly unconnected. The Emperor tasks Vader with monitoring these developments while eliminating any nascent rebellion before it can gain momentum. Vader employs networks of spies, agents, inquisitors, and bounty hunters to gather intelligence about potential threats. This surveillance apparatus reaches into every level of Imperial society while extending tendrils throughout the galaxy's criminal underworld and political circles. Despite these extensive efforts, rebel activity slowly grows more coordinated as opposition to Imperial rule finds common cause among diverse groups. Ironically, some of this coordination will result from Vader's own actions when his secret apprentice inadvertently helps create the very alliance the Empire seeks to prevent. The name Darth Vader becomes synonymous with imperial oppression for ordinary citizens who suffer under the new regime's harsh rule. Parents use his reputation to frighten children into obedience, while adults speak his name in whispers when discussing the Empire's cruelty. Yet this same fearsome reputation serves as a deterrent that keeps many star systems in line without requiring direct intervention. The possibility that Vader might arrive to investigate disloyalty prevents countless acts of rebellion before they can begin. His transformation from the Republic's greatest hero to the Empire's most feared enforcer is now complete. The man who once dreamed of bringing freedom to the galaxy has become its primary instrument of oppression, wielding power that grows stronger with each act of ruthless efficiency. Sometimes the most dangerous plans begin with a moment of unexpected mercy. Darth Vader is about to discover that the child he spares on Kashyyyk will grow up to create the rebellion that destroys everything he serves. The Imperial attack on Kashyyyk brings Vader face to face with one of the last hiding Jedi survivors. Kento Marek has been living quietly among the Wookiees, trying to avoid detection while raising his young son in exile. But the Empire's reach extends everywhere, and eventually even the most careful refugees get found. The duel between Vader and Kento ends the way most such encounters do, with another dead Jedi adding to the Dark Lord's reputation. But something unusual happens as Vader prepares to leave the scene. The fallen Jedi's son, a small boy named Galen, reacts to his father's death with a burst of raw force power that surprises everyone present. Young Galen uses the force to grab Vader's lightsaber right out of his hand, demonstrating abilities that most children his age couldn't even imagine. The display of untrained potential impresses someone who has spent years hunting down Force users and eliminating them without exception. Instead of killing the boy as Imperial doctrine demands, Vader makes a decision that will reshape galactic history. He spares Galen's life and takes him away from Kashyyyk to begin secret training as his hidden apprentice. The Emperor must never learn that his loyal enforcer is breaking fundamental Sith tradition. The plan Vader conceives follows ancient Sith customs about apprentices eventually overthrowing their masters. He intends to train Galen as his weapon for challenging Palpatine when the time comes. The boy will become powerful enough to tip the balance in a confrontation that Vader cannot win alone. For roughly a decade, Galen Marek lives in complete isolation, while Vader shapes him into the perfect dark side warrior. Training droids provide combat practice while holocrons teach Sith philosophy, but the boy has no contact with other living beings except his master. The loneliness becomes part of his conditioning. Vader gives his apprentice the codename Starkiller, a name that reflects the destructive power he's being trained to wield. Every lesson emphasizes strength through hatred, victory through ruthlessness, and survival through the elimination of weakness. The gentle child who lost his father becomes something far more dangerous. By the time his training nears completion, Starkiller has developed into an incredibly powerful Force user whose abilities surpass most fully trained Jedi. His lightsaber skills rival those of former Council members, while his command of dark side powers exceeds anything Vader achieved at his age. Vader begins using his secret weapon for missions too sensitive to trust to normal Imperial forces. Starkiller becomes the hunter who tracks down Jedi survivors that even Vader hasn't been able to locate. His youth and training make him perfect for infiltrating rebel cells and eliminating Force users who think they're safe. The hunt for Ram Kota sends Starkiller after a former Jedi general who has become a rebel mercenary. Kota's military experience and Force abilities make him a dangerous enemy, but Starkiller defeats him in combat that proves the Apprentice has mastered everything his master taught him. Kazdan Paratus represents a different kind of challenge when Starkiller tracks the crazed Jedi exile to his hideout on Raxus Prime. This former temple architect has gone insane from guilt and isolation, building mechanical replicas of fallen Jedi to keep himself company. Starkiller eliminates another survivor while demonstrating his ability to handle opponents whose madness makes them unpredictable. The mission to Felucia targets one of the most respected survivors from the old Jedi Order. Shaak Ti once sat on the Jedi Council and commanded armies during the Clone Wars, making her elimination both symbolically and practically important. Starkiller's victory over such a formidable opponent proves his worthiness to serve as Vader's ultimate weapon. Each successful mission increases Starkiller's confidence while further completing the Jedi purge that began decades earlier. Vader encourages his apprentice to grow stronger in hatred with every victory, feeding the dark emotions that fuel his power while eliminating any trace of the light side that might interfere. But Emperor Palpatine eventually discovers the existence of Vader's secret apprentice, either through his own spying or because he knew about the training all along. The revelation creates a test of Vader's loyalty that threatens to destroy everything he's worked to build. Palpatine orders Vader to eliminate Starkiller immediately, forcing a choice between his ambitions and his survival. In front of the Emperor, Vader impales his apprentice with his lightsaber in an apparent act of absolute obedience. The betrayal nearly kills Starkiller, while satisfying Palpatine that the threat has been removed. Secretly, Vader retrieves his apprentice's body and arranges for medical treatment that saves his life. The resurrection serves Vader's continued plans while giving Starkiller new motivation born from the shock of betrayal. The relationship between master and apprentice changes fundamentally after this violent deception. Vader's new mission for his recovered apprentice involves gathering dissident senators into what appears to be a rebellion against Imperial rule. Starkiller contacts leaders like Bail Organa and Mon Mothma under the pretense of uniting opposition forces, though he doesn't realize he's being used as bait in an elaborate trap. The plan works perfectly until Vader reveals its true purpose during a meeting on Corellia. He ambushes the assembled senators while explaining that the entire rebellion was a ruse designed to flush out traitors. Starkiller learns that he was never truly trusted, just used as an expendable tool for his master's schemes. The final betrayal pushes Starkiller toward a redemption that Vader never intended. Instead of accepting his role as a disposable asset, the apprentice decides to rescue the senators that his actions helped endanger. The choice leads to a confrontation aboard the Death Star, where student must face teacher in mortal combat. Their duel demonstrates how completely Vader's teachings have shaped his apprentice while showing that power alone cannot guarantee victory. Starkiller defeats Vader in lightsaber combat, proving that the student has indeed surpassed his master in at least some aspects of the Force. But the victory becomes sacrifice when Starkiller chooses to save others rather than claim power for himself. He explodes in a burst of Force energy that allows the senators and his friends to escape Palpatine's trap while ending his own life. The decision represents everything Vader tried to train out of him. The senators who escaped that day form the official Rebel Alliance, inspired by Starkiller's sacrifice to continue fighting despite overwhelming odds. They adopt his family crest as their symbol, making the Marek family emblem the famous starbird insignia that will represent hope across the galaxy. In one of history's greatest ironies, Vader's schemes to create a weapon against his master instead forge the rebellion that will eventually destroy them both. The boy he saved on Kashyyyk grows up to plant seeds of freedom that bloom into the Empire's greatest threat. Vader reports Starkiller's death to the Emperor while concealing the full truth about what happened. The legend of someone who stood against both Sith Lords remains mostly hidden, but those who know the story understand that hope can emerge from the darkest circumstances. The Empire's ultimate weapon becomes its greatest weakness when rebel spies steal the plans that reveal how to destroy it. Darth Vader is about to discover that some victories contain the seeds of their own defeat. The galaxy burns with open rebellion as the Rebel Alliance finally emerges from the shadows to challenge Imperial rule directly. Their first major victory comes through daring espionage that penetrates the Empire's most heavily guarded secrets. Rebel agents, including Kyle Katarn and others, managed to steal the complete technical plans for the Death Star. The theft represents everything the Empire fears about organized resistance. Years of construction in absolute secrecy become meaningless when the enemy obtains blueprints that reveal every weakness in the massive weapon. The rebels now possess information that could turn the Empire's greatest achievement into its most devastating failure. Vader receives orders to retrieve the stolen plans before the Alliance can exploit them. The task brings personal satisfaction because it allows him to strike directly at the rebels who destroyed his greatest accomplishment. Tracking the plans leads him to Princess Leia Organa's diplomatic vessel, giving him a legitimate excuse to board a ship protected by senatorial immunity. The Tantive 4 tries to escape over Tatooine, but Vader's Star Destroyer catches the smaller vessel before it can reach hyperspace. The boarding action that follows becomes one of the most iconic moments in galactic history as Vader leads Imperial troops through smoke-filled corridors while searching for the stolen data. His entrance through the breached airlock creates a scene that rebels will remember for generations. Vader strides through the battle like death itself, casually lifting a defender off the ground by the throat with one hand, while his lightsaber cuts down anyone foolish enough to resist. The display of power intimidates survivors into surrender. Princess Leia maintains her innocence during interrogation, claiming her ship was on a diplomatic mission rather than a military operation. Vader senses she knows far more than she admits, but even torture cannot break her resolve. He has no idea that the woman resisting his efforts is actually his own daughter. The irony deepens because Vader sees only a traitorous senator from Alderaan who supports rebellion against legitimate authority. His connection to Leia remains hidden by circumstances that prevent him from sensing their family bond. The Force works in mysterious ways to keep certain truths concealed until the proper time. Leia's droids escape with the Death Star plans, beginning a chain of events that will reshape the galaxy. R2-D2 and C-3PO find their way to Luke Skywalker, who discovers the message meant for Obi-Wan Kenobi. The reunion between master and student sets in motion the final confrontation that Vader has been anticipating for decades. The Death Star becomes the stage for their last meeting when Obi-Wan infiltrates the station to rescue Princess Leia. Vader senses his former master's presence immediately, feeling something he hasn't experienced in years. The man who cut him down on Mustafar has finally returned to finish what they started. Their lightsaber duel carries the weight of decades of separation and mutual betrayal. Vader approaches the fight with confidence born from years of experience and growing power. He tells Obi-Wan that the circle is now complete, that when he left his master, he was merely a learner, but now he has become the master. The moment represents everything Vader has been working toward since his transformation into a Sith Lord. Defeating Obi-Wan will prove that he has surpassed his former teacher while erasing the last connection to his past as Anakin Skywalker. Victory here means that Darth Vader has definitively won over everything he once was. Their combat moves slowly compared to the fierce duels of their younger years, weighted by history and the physical limitations that both men now carry. But the emotional intensity remains as high as ever, with each strike carrying decades of accumulated pain and anger. Obi-Wan's sacrifice comes as a shock that Vader doesn't fully understand. His former master allows himself to be struck down, but his body vanishes instead of falling like any normal death. Vader pokes at the empty robes with confusion, uncertain about what just happened or how it's possible. The victory feels hollow, despite achieving his goal of eliminating Obi-Wan once and for all. Something about his master's calm acceptance of death and subsequent disappearance plants seeds of doubt that Vader cannot easily dismiss. The transcendence suggests powers beyond anything the Sith have taught him. The Battle of Yavin provides Vader with an opportunity to personally defend the Death Star while hunting the rebels who dare to attack it. He pilots his advanced TIE fighter into combat against overwhelming odds, relying on his Force sensitivity to track targets through the chaos of space battle. One X-Wing pilot immediately captures his attention because of unusual strength in the Force. The young rebel flies with instincts that seem impossible for someone his age, avoiding attacks and threading through defenses with abilities that remind Vader of his own younger self. Luke Skywalker becomes Vader's primary target during the final assault on the Death Star's exhaust port. The Dark Lord closes in for what should be an easy kill against an inexperienced pilot who poses no real threat. But Han Solo's last-minute intervention sends Vader's fighter spinning out of control just as victory seems assured. The loss of the Death Star represents both personal and strategic disaster for Vader. His greatest achievement gets destroyed by rebels, while Grand Moff Tarkin dies in the explosion that levels an entire space station. The Empire's ultimate weapon becomes rubble floating in space around Yavin Star. Vader's survival remains secret initially, as Imperial forces assume he perished along with everyone else aboard the battle station. But he regains control of his damaged fighter and escapes the destruction with his life intact. The defeat fills him with wrath and determination to find the pilot responsible for this humiliation. The name Skywalker reaches Vader's ears during the battle communications, sparking recognition that hits him like a physical blow. No other family bears that surname in the galaxy, which means the pilot who destroyed the Death Star must be his own son. The revelation changes everything about his priorities and goals. Vader keeps this discovery secret from the Emperor while beginning his own investigation into Luke's background and current location. The knowledge that his child survived Padme's death creates possibilities that he hasn't considered since his transformation into a Sith Lord. Perhaps the boy can be turned to serve the dark side. His focus shifts from simple destruction of the rebellion to capturing one specific rebel pilot. Luke Skywalker becomes a personal obsession that will drive Vader's actions for years to come. The son he never knew existed now represents both his greatest opportunity and his most dangerous weakness. The boy who destroyed the Death Star carries potential that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Vader begins planning how to find Luke and bring him over to the Sith while hiding these intentions from his master. The hunt for his son becomes the most important mission of his life. Three years of hunting across the galaxy finally pay off when Vader discovers something more valuable than any rebel base. The son he never knew existed is about to learn that some family reunions come with lightsabers and life-changing revelations. The years following the Death Star's destruction see Vader leading Imperial forces in a relentless campaign that combines personal vengeance with strategic necessity. Operating from his massive superstar destroyer Executor, he scours every system for the rebels who humiliated the Empire while secretly pursuing his own agenda concerning Luke Skywalker. Bounty hunters and Imperial spies feed him information that confirms what he suspected after the Battle of Yavin. Boba Fett reports that the pilot's name is indeed Skywalker and provides details about his background on Tatooine. Each piece of intelligence strengthens Vader's certainty that Luke is his son. By the time the Empire finally locates the new rebel base, Vader has developed a comprehensive plan for turning Luke to the dark side. But he must keep this knowledge secret from Emperor Palpatine, who would see the boy as either a threat to eliminate or a tool to control. The cat-and-mouse game between master and apprentice adds tension to their relationship. Eventually, Palpatine learns about Luke's existence, leading to a holographic conversation where the Emperor identifies him as the offspring of Anakin Skywalker. Vader feigns surprise while suggesting they turn the boy rather than destroy him. The exchange reveals an implicit power struggle where both Sith understand that Luke could become a valuable asset. Vader's probe droids finally locate the rebels on the ice world of Hoth, giving him the opportunity to demonstrate his determination through personal leadership. The Battle of Hoth becomes a showcase of his tactical abilities as he orchestrates a massive assault that overwhelms rebel defenses. The moment their shield falls, Vader personally arrives on the battlefield with snow troopers to ensure the rebels cannot escape. He marches through Echo Base with mechanical precision, his presence so terrifying that many defenders flee rather than face the Dark Lord in combat. Though the Millennium Falcon escapes just ahead of his arrival, Vader treats Hoth as a victory because it scatters rebel forces while advancing his true objective. He immediately diverts Imperial resources to tracking Luke's friends, understanding they will serve as perfect bait for drawing the young Jedi to him. His deployment of bounty hunters to track the Falcon demonstrates willingness to use any methods necessary for achieving his goals. When Captain Pyatt expresses skepticism about hiring these underworld agents, Vader makes clear that results matter more than procedures or protocol. The specific instruction of no disintegrations directed at Boba Fett reveals Vader's familiarity with these dangerous individuals. He knows their capabilities and limitations while ensuring they understand that Luke must be captured alive. Boba Fett's tracking skills lead Vader to Cloud City, where Han Solo, Leia, and Chewbacca seek refuge with Lando Calrissian. Vader arrives first and coerces the administrator into cooperating through threats that leave no room for negotiation or refusal. The trap works perfectly when Luke senses his friend's suffering and abandons his training to attempt a rescue. Vader manipulates their pain as bait while preparing for the confrontation he has been planning since discovering Luke's identity years earlier. Their duel in the carbon freezing chamber tests Luke's incomplete training against Vader's decades of experience and refined technique. The Dark Lord dominates most of the fight while toying with his opponent, hoping to freeze him in carbonite for easier transport to the Emperor. Luke manages to land one surprising blow on Vader's arm, which only serves to enrage someone unaccustomed to being touched by lesser opponents. The glancing strike triggers a devastating response as Vader unleashes telekinetic attacks that batter Luke with debris and machinery. The fighting moves from the industrial chamber to an outdoor gantry where Vader finally corners his prey. His lightsaber cuts off Luke's right hand, disarming the young rebel while demonstrating the futility of resistance against superior power and skill. With Luke defenseless and desperate, Vader reveals the truth that changes everything between them. The revelation that he is Luke's father shatters the young man's understanding of himself and his place in the galaxy. Everything Luke believed about his family and his enemy proves to be a lie. Vader's offer to join forces comes from genuine conviction rather than simple manipulation. He proposes that their combined strength could end the destructive conflict while bringing order to the galaxy through Sith rule. The invitation reveals his willingness to overthrow the Emperor for the right partnership. The prospect of ruling with his son awakens something in Vader that has been dormant since Padme's death. Luke represents both his blood and hers, offering the possibility of love and family that he thought was lost forever. The proposal contains genuine emotion beneath its political pragmatism. Luke's horrified refusal and desperate leap into the reactor shaft surprises Vader more than any lightsaber technique could. For perhaps the first time since his transformation, he faces uncertainty about how to proceed when someone would rather die than accept his offer. The escape that follows leaves Vader standing on his command bridge, reaching out through the Force to maintain contact with his fleeing son. He telepathically insists that joining him is Luke's destiny, while privately pleading for the boy to accept what seems inevitable. Luke's resistance creates a low moment for Vader, as his carefully planned trap fails to achieve its primary objective. His son has rejected him while awakening internal conflict between Anakin's love for family and Vader's allegiance to the dark side. The aftermath reveals Vader's emotional turmoil through uncharacteristic mercy toward Admiral Piet, whose failures would normally result in execution. The Dark Lord's preoccupation with personal matters prevents him from maintaining his usual standards of Imperial discipline. The failed reunion plants seeds of doubt that will grow over time as Vader contemplates what Luke's rejection means for his future plans. The son who was supposed to complete his transformation has instead reminded him of possibilities he thought were buried forever beneath layers of hatred and pain. Sometimes the most dangerous enemies are the ones who share your master while hiding their own agenda. Vader is about to discover that Prince Shizor has been planning revenge for years, and Luke Skywalker has become the perfect weapon to hurt them both. The months following Cloud City bring a shadow war that most of the galaxy never sees. While the Empire publicly hunts rebels and the Alliance plans its next moves, two of the Emperor's most trusted servants engage in a deadly game of cat and mouse that threatens to tear apart their master's inner circle. Prince Xizor controls the Black Sun crime syndicate while serving as one of Palpatine's favored advisors. His Falleen heritage gives him natural advantages in manipulation and long-term planning, but his hatred for Darth Vader burns with intensity that has been building for years. The source of their conflict reaches back to a decision Vader made during the early Imperial period. When a bioplague threatened to spread from Xizor's homeworld, Vader ordered an orbital bombardment to contain the outbreak. The military action saved countless lives across the galaxy, but inadvertently killed Xizor's family in the process. Xizor has never forgiven this loss, though he hides his feelings behind a mask of professional cooperation. The Emperor values both men for different reasons, creating a delicate balance that prevents open warfare between them. But Vader's obsession with Luke Skywalker provides the perfect opportunity for indirect revenge. Xizor's plan is elegantly simple. If he can assassinate Luke before Vader can turn him, the Dark Lord loses both his greatest hope and his potential weapon against the Emperor. The death would devastate Vader emotionally while eliminating a threat to the existing power structure. The assassination attempts begin subtly with agents targeting Luke on various worlds. Xizor sets traps on Tatooine and sends swoop bikers to eliminate the young Jedi before he can develop his abilities further. Each attack appears random enough to avoid suspicion while steadily increasing the pressure on Vader's son. Vader becomes aware of these schemes through his own intelligence networks and the suspicious timing of attacks on Luke. Though he cannot act openly against someone the Emperor favors, his rage at this interference burns hotter than any lightsaber. The game between them escalates as each seeks advantages the other cannot directly counter. During this period, Vader's private thoughts increasingly focus on his son in ways that surprise even him. The novel Shadows of the Empire reveals how deeply Luke has affected someone who thought all capacity for love had been burned away on Mustafar. Vader conducts research into Luke's background and growth, learning details about the young man who carries his blood and Padme's spirit. The knowledge feeds both his determination to turn Luke and his growing emotional investment in their relationship, whether Luke accepts it or rejects it. His experiments with reaching Luke through the Force reveal depths of feeling that Vader has spent decades trying to suppress. During one meditation session, he nearly succeeds in calling Luke to the dark side through pure mental influence, entering a trance that bridges the space between them. The moment provides a glimpse of what their connection could become if Luke embraces his heritage. But Luke's strong moral character repels the dark influence, maintaining his commitment to the light despite the psychological pressure his father applies from across the galaxy. More significantly, Vader experiences something during that contact that he hasn't felt since his transformation. His constant physical pain eases when he connects with Luke through the Force, providing relief that comes not from hatred or anger, but from genuine human connection. This brief peace brings Anakin's buried feelings close to the surface, threatening to undermine everything Vader has built his identity around. When he realizes what's happening, he deliberately recoils from the light and re-embraces his agony, believing that pain is the source of his power. The internal conflict reveals the light that still exists within him, though in legends this aspect of his character rarely surfaces until these moments with Luke. The father-son bond awakens possibilities that both inspire and terrify someone who has committed his existence to serving darkness. Xizor's boldest move comes when he kidnaps Leia to bait Luke into a trap on Coruscant. The plan demonstrates his understanding of Luke's character and attachments while providing multiple opportunities to eliminate his target through seemingly accidental circumstances. Vader tracks Luke's rescue mission and arrives in orbit as the young Jedi infiltrates Shizor's orbital palace, known as the Skyhook. The timing creates a three-way confrontation where each participant pursues goals that conflict with the others while maintaining the fiction of Imperial unity. When Shizor attempts to eliminate both Luke and Vader simultaneously, the Dark Lord finally takes direct action against his rival. Orders from the Executor result in devastating firepower targeting the Skyhook, destroying Shizor's stronghold with the Crime Lord still inside. The destruction eliminates the third-party interference while ensuring Luke survives the encounter. Vader achieves his goals through overwhelming force applied at precisely the right moment, proving that patience and timing matter more than elaborate schemes when dealing with enemies. Officially, Vader reports that Shizor was collaborating with rebels and required immediate elimination. The Emperor accepts this explanation without investigation, either believing the story or understanding the real dynamics while choosing not to intervene in his servant's conflicts. With Shizor gone, Vader can focus entirely on drawing Luke out for their final confrontation. The Shadow War ends with clear victory for the Dark Lord, but the real prize remains beyond his grasp until Luke chooses to face him directly. A brief collaboration with Admiral Thrawn during this period hints at future possibilities when the brilliant tactician helps Vader eliminate a rebel installation. But Palpatine soon sends Thrawn to explore the unknown regions, limiting their interaction to this single operation. The climax of this entire period comes in a moment of pure emotional connection that transcends physical distance and political allegiances. Standing on his command bridge, Vader senses Luke's presence on a departing rebel ship while the young Jedi simultaneously feels his father's attention. Through the Force, Luke sends a simple thought that changes everything between them. The word father carries acceptance of their relationship despite everything that separates them. Vader responds with equal simplicity, acknowledging their bond with the word son. This silent exchange confirms that Luke has accepted the truth about his parentage while maintaining hope for redemption that Vader finds both inspiring and disturbing. The love inherent in their connection awakens feelings that have been dormant since Padme's death. The moment steels Vader's resolve to continue pursuing Luke while shaking his commitment to the dark side in ways he doesn't fully understand. Their final meeting approaches with both father and son, changed by experiences that prove some bonds transcend even the deepest darkness. And now, we come to the final chapter in Darth Vader's story. The moment when a father's love proves stronger than decades of darkness, and the Chosen One finally fulfills the destiny that began with his miraculous birth. The Emperor's trap at Endor brings all the major players together for one last confrontation. The second Death Star hangs in space like a mechanical moon, promising to destroy the Rebel Alliance once and for all. Vader serves his master's agenda while pursuing his own goal of bringing Luke into their ranks. When Luke voluntarily surrenders on the forest moon, father and son finally meet face to face again. On the landing platform, Luke makes a statement that shakes Vader to his core. He insists there is still good in his father, despite everything that has happened between them. The words hit Vader harder than any lightsaber strike could, Legends sources reveal how deeply this belief affects someone who has spent decades convincing himself that Anakin Skywalker is truly dead. When Luke mentions their mother, buried memories of Padme stir feelings that Vader thought were burned away forever. Despite this internal conflict, Vader delivers Luke to the Emperor aboard the Death Star. He appears resolved to either turn his son or watch him die rather than allow any weakness to compromise his loyalty to the Sith. The throne room becomes the stage for the final test of Luke's character and Vader's soul. Palpatine orchestrates events to push Luke toward the dark side, while space and ground battles rage around them. The strategy works when Vader senses Luke's thoughts and learns about his twin sister Leia. The threat against Leia triggers fury that overwhelms Luke's Jedi training. He attacks Vader with savage intensity, overpowering someone who has dominated every previous encounter between them. The ferocious assault ends when Luke cuts off Vader's prosthetic hand, creating a dark mirror of their duel on Cloud City. But the sight of severed cybernetics stops Luke cold as he recognizes the parallel with his own mechanical hand. The moment of clarity breaks through his anger, allowing him to step back from the edge of darkness. He refuses to kill his father while proclaiming himself a Jedi like Anakin once was. This defiance seals Luke's fate in the Emperor's eyes. Palpatine unleashes Force lightning with lethal intent, torturing the young Jedi while explaining that his compassion is a weakness to be exploited. The prolonged agony serves both as punishment and demonstration of power. Vader watches his son writhe in pain while hearing desperate pleas for help. The sight of Luke suffering breaks through every barrier that darkness has built around Anakin's heart. In an overwhelming surge of emotion, the man who was buried beneath the machine finally awakens. Anakin Skywalker grabs the Emperor and hurls Darth Sidious down a reactor shaft, choosing love over loyalty in the moment that defines his entire existence. The action saves Luke while mortally wounding Vader as electrical energy courses through his life support systems. The sacrifice fulfills the Chosen One prophecy in its truest sense. Anakin destroys both Sith Lords, including himself as Vader, while bringing balance to the Force through an act of selfless love. The destiny that began with his virgin birth reaches completion through his willing death. As the Death Star crumbles around them, Luke drags his dying father toward an escape shuttle. Anakin's final request is deeply personal. He asks Luke to remove his mask so he can look upon his son with his own eyes. The scarred and pale face, revealed beneath the helmet, shows Luke the human being who survived decades of physical and emotional torture. Anakin uses his last breaths to express pride in his son, while asking Luke to tell Leia that there was still good in him despite everything he did. Luke escapes as Anakin becomes one with the Force, finally free from the pain and hatred that defined his existence as Vader. The funeral pyre on Endor burns away the black armor, while Anakin's redeemed spirit appears alongside Obi-Wan and Yoda during the victory celebration. The story continues beyond death in ways unique to the Legends timeline. The day after Endor, Anakin's Force ghost appears to Leia, seeking forgiveness for his crimes against her and her people. The encounter proves difficult for both of them, as she struggles to reconcile the father she never knew with the monster who caused so much suffering. Leia's inability to immediately forgive creates sorrow that influences her for years afterward. She eventually names her son Anakin in an effort to redeem that legacy, though the process of making peace with her father's dual nature takes considerable time. Anakin's spirit makes subtle appearances during Luke's efforts to rebuild the Jedi Order. When Luke faces great peril from the ancient Sith spirit Exar Kun, the presence of his father combines with other deceased Jedi to provide strength for the new generation. The legacy extends far beyond personal relationships to reshape galactic civilization. Anakin's sacrifice directly causes the Empire's downfall while enabling the return of the Jedi Order. Luke teaches his students about his father's fall as a cautionary tale, emphasizing that even the greatest heroes can be corrupted by fear and anger. Eventually, the truth about Vader's identity becomes public knowledge, creating political complications for Leia and her children. But the revelation also serves as proof that redemption is possible for anyone willing to choose love over hatred. The New Republic and later governments grapple with Anakin's complex legacy as both savior and destroyer. His story becomes a reminder that individual choices matter more than destiny or circumstances when determining the fate of entire civilizations. From a certain point of view, Anakin's entire life was the will of the Force playing out across decades of galactic history. Born of prophecy, fallen to darkness, and finally redeemed by love, he leaves behind hope that shapes the galaxy for generations. The slave boy who dreamed of freeing everyone becomes the chosen one who liberates the galaxy from tyranny. The hero who fell to become a monster finds salvation through the son he never thought he would know.